Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I received a 24 volt 4000 watt inverter from mxMoonFree, so let's go ahead and open it up and see what's inside. All right, as soon as you open it, there's lots of styrofoam, more styrofoam. Oh my god, there's just like little pieces of styrofoam everywhere. All right, and then we have our little bag with the user manual and the sales service card. We also have a wireless remote, which is nice. More styrofoam. Oh my gosh. Styrofoam. All right, the inverter and some cabling and some fuses. Okay. Let's give it some first impressions, shall we? First of all, it's made out of all aluminum, which is nice. It says DC to AC 4000 watt pure sine wave inverter. Input is 24 volts and output is 110 to 120 volts. Let's see. On this side is your DC connections. So you have your negative and your positive connection. And then we have a nice big fan on the back. And then on the other side, we have four, looks like 15 amp AC plugs. We have an off-on switch. We have a USB port right here. And that is to probably so you can charge the wireless remote if you need. Then we have some hardwire connections right here. So you can wire it directly to a sub panel. Okay, some technical parameters about this inverter. First of all, it is pure sine wave. It does have a surge of 8,000 watts for a 4,000 watt inverter. It says that its efficiency is greater or equal to 88%. The overvoltage protection would be right around 30 volts for this 24 volt inverter. And the undervoltage protection would be 21 volts. This inverter weighs in right at 20 pounds. And the remote has a distance of between 25 feet and 32 feet. It also looks like it comes with, this looks to be four gauge cable rated at 450 volts. And, in my mind, that's pretty small for a 4,000 watt inverter. If you were wanting to be able to use that entire 4,000 watts, you would want bigger cable than this. You would want probably, I'm guessing, 1 gauge or probably actually 1/0 gauge cable. I think that would be the safest bet. And this bag comes with a USB cord to plug in the wireless remote. It also comes with some additional fuses and also the hardware to be able to connect these cables to the inverter. So we're going to go ahead and get a couple of 12 volt batteries, connect them in series, and get this thing started. Okay, I almost have everything all connected, but I kind of want to show you how this is connected. You can see right here that I have this 4 gauge cable right here connecting the positive one battery to the negative of the other battery. And what that means is that I am basically making these two batteries act as one battery. So if you take the voltage of this battery over here, the voltage of this battery is 13.42. And if you take the voltage of this other battery, it is 13.23. So since I have this cable connecting the positive and the negative of these two batteries together, if I connect the positive and negative of the batteries on this side, I get the sum of the voltage of the batteries, which is 26.66 volts. And since this is a 24-volt inverter, all I have to do is connect up the positive and negative on this side to the inverter, and I am ready to go. And since we are working with a 4,000-watt inverter, I'm going to use a resistor. I'm going to connect the resistor first, so that way it powers up the capacitors in the inverter, so I don't get a big spark. There we go, no spark. Connect it up and tighten it down. Okay. So our battery bank is all set up and our inverter should turn on. Beautiful. So let's go ahead and look at the screen on the inverter. Okay, so the input on the inverter, it actually says 27.1. And when I took the measurements on the actual batteries using the Tesmin multimeter, it showed 26.6. So there's a little difference right there. Output is 122 volts. That is great. It's nice that it's 122 volt inverters. We'll check those on the outlets. It says power right here, which is the output wattage, and right now it's 0 because we have nothing plugged in, and it's running at 60 hertz. Okay, the first thing I want to show is that this is a pure sine wave inverter. You can see the nice wave of the sine right there. It's not blocky in any means. Secondly, let's go ahead and check the AC outputs and make sure that they are 120 volts. Okay, and just like the display said, it does show that the AC output is 122.2 volts. Perfect. Okay, I've got a few devices here. Some you can see, some you can't. And we're going to kind of put this thing to the test to see how far it will go. First of all, I have your standard testing equipment like a heat gun. I'll go ahead and put it on low. It should have no problem powering this heat gun. And it shows that it's using 473 watts. On high, it says it's using 1190 watts. And actually, to show you all this, let's go ahead and turn on the remote so I can show you the remote. Okay, here is the remote. The screen looks exactly like the screen on the actual unit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you everything I'm doing with this remote right here. Okay, so first of all, let's turn on the heat gun on high. It shows right at 1183 watts. And the screen on this, it really shuts off after a while. So it's going to be kind of hard to show you, but let me just get through all of this. And then what I want to do, now I have this DeWalt hand drill right here. But let's go ahead and plug in this meter. Because what I want to do is I want to capture the highest wattage of what it puts out. Okay, so here is the hand drill. Ready? And it leveled off at about 500 watts. And this shows at its highest, it was 750 watts, which I feel like it was higher than that. Let me try it again. Okay, ready? I'm going to be watching the monitor right here. Yeah. The initial power surge was 1700 watts. So this watt meter does not go high enough. It doesn't go into the thousands. So this thing will not work for what I wanted to do. Okay, my next thing, let me put you over here, My next thing that I'm going to power is my Shopsmith. Now this thing is a monster. Let's go ahead and try it with two 100 amp batteries and this 24 volt 4000 watt inverter. And let me go ahead and I'm going to point you right at this screen so you can see exactly what I see. Okay, hopefully you can see that pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on the Shopsmith right now. All right, did you see that? That wattage went up to 3,700 watts. That was the surge. And so, okay, now what I'm going to do is, I know you can't see me, but okay, I'm turning on the heat gun on full blast. And that's giving us 1,200 watts. Secondly, I'm going to turn on the Shopsmith, and then I'm going to try to turn on that DeWalt drill, and we'll see if it can power all three at the same time. Okay, there's the Shopsmith. And now here's the DeWalt drill. Okay, I don't know about you, but I turned on all those things. Two of them have a massive surge. And this 24 volt mxMoonFree 4000 watt inverter, it ate all that up, and the fan on the back never even turned on. That's incredible. This thing, I mean, it's not even, this thing's not even warm. I find that super impressive. That's amazing. I'm going to see if I can get this surge even higher. I'm going to do the heat gun, and then I'm going to turn this drill on. You know what? I have another port right here, and I have a portable table saw. Let's just go ahead and plug that in. Let's just go for it. Okay, I found something that might be even better than a portable table saw. I found an air compressor. So let's go ahead and power on the air compressor and see what we get for our initial draw. Okay, ready? You can see that okay? Okay, so that used up another 1,000 watts. So we're gonna go ahead and just turn on all this stuff at the same time and see if it can power it. Okay, so here's how I'm going to do it. First, I'm going to turn on the heat gun, and that's going to give us 1,000 watts. Then I'm going to turn on the air compressor. That's going to give us another 1,000, so we'll be right around 2,000 watts. And then I will turn on the DeWalt hand drill, and that will surge up, you know, to 1,700 watts, but then it'll settle probably around 500 or 600 watts. And then I'll turn on the bad boy Shopsmith, which will pulse it up to 3,700 watts, and it settles around 900 to 1,000 watts as well. And we're going to see if this inverter can go through all of that, and maybe see if the fan will turn on. So let's just do it, and you're just going to have to run with me, because once I start this, you're not going to be able to hear anything besides a bunch of crap running at full speed. So here we go. Heat gun. $1,200 watts, 1,200 watts. Air compressor. 2,200 watts, 2,200 watts. DeWalt drill. 2,700 watts. Oh, Okay, well, I was able to turn on all 3 of these, and then as soon as I kicked this on, and it was running at like 2700, I kicked this on, which surges at like 3700, and so it pushed 6,000 watts. Now I have a feeling, and then it kind of slowed off, and then it started back up again. And I'm not sure if the inverter wasn't able to take that surge, or if it was actually one of the batteries if it dropped the voltage so bad that it couldn't handle it. So I'm going to try it one more time just to see how bad the voltage drop is, and hopefully we'll be able to confirm something. Okay, here we go. Heat gun, air compressor. Okay, that confirms it. The inverter had no problem whatsoever. We had a voltage drop of under 21 volts. The inverter didn't have any problem pulling or giving all of that energy, like powering up everything. It didn't have any problems. The problem was that my battery bank was not big enough to handle all the surge from all of that equipment. So I find that amazing. All right, another thing I wanted to show you is the size difference between the 12 volt 5000 watt mxMoonFree inverter and the 24 volt 4000 watt MX-free pure sine wave inverter. I mean, you can see that there is a good 4 inches difference. When it comes to width and height, they're the same, but when it comes to length, there's about 4 inches of difference between the two. And this 5000 watt inverter from mxMoonFree, just like its 24 volt brother right here, it is a powerhouse, and I have yet to have any issues with it. It can power anything, and again, I have never seen the fan turn on this one either. Okay, so what are my final thoughts of the 24 volt 4000 watt mxMoonFree pure sine wave inverter? Just like its 12 volt counterpart, this thing is a monster. 4,000 watts of power, 8,000 watts of surge. Even with all the power that I got from these two Redodo 100 amp 12 volt batteries back here, which gave me a 24 volt bank, I still wasn't able to push this thing to its limit. The voltage drop from the two batteries was too significant before this thing even had any issues with the power consumption. I do like the form factor that it is 4 inches smaller than the 12 volt version of the 5000 watt inverter. I'll go ahead and put the dimensions of this inverter right down here on the bottom. I like the fact that it has 4 15 amp outlets, so it does say that you should only power about 1500 watts per outlet, and it does have a hardwire ability, so you can hardwire right to a sub panel, which is nice. It does have a remote that can reach 25 feet. It's wireless, and it shows the exact same information that's on the screen of the inverter. That is definitely a plus. The only negative, the only minus I can find from this inverter is with every other inverter that's on the market. The cabling that came with it, the conductors, the wires, they are way too small for the power of this inverter. I believe they're 4 gauge cables. I mean, I would say if you're going to use this in a permanent solution, go 1/0. Go 1/0 cable. That way you never have to worry about your cabling when it comes to the amount of power that this inverter can give out. So with all that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions about this mxMoonFree 4000 watt 24 volt inverter, please leave them in the comments. I'll have a link to this in the description if you want to look more into it. Again, thank you so much and have a great night. Bye-bye.